MotorWeek is made possible by TireRack.com and State Farm.
Hello and welcome to MotorWeek and to our 1985 Detroit New Car Preview. This vast expanse of concrete and blacktop is only a small part of the Chrysler Corporation Proving Grounds in Chelsea, Michigan, where we're starting our two-week tour of this model year's new goodies from Detroit's Big Four car companies. Besides looking at Chrysler, we'll also be reviewing some of the better ideas from Ford this week. And next time, it'll be the turn of General Motors and American Motors. Pat Goss will also pay us a visit with some advice on how to keep the more sophisticated engines on many of these new models running sound long after your monthly payments end. So let's start by looking at a new car line that may add yet another sharp sales point to Chrysler's now flourishing Pentastar. For months, we've known them only as the Chrysler H-Cars, a pair of front-drive, middleweight, sporty five-door liftbacks. Well, now they have names, the Chrysler LeBaron GTS and the Dodge Lancer. They're built on a 103.1-inch wheelbase, one more variation of the tried-and-true K-Car theme. Their aim is to make a run at domestic Euro-think products such as the Pontiac 6000 STE and world-class imports like the Mazda 626 and BMW 318i. Power is familiar. Standard equipment is the homegrown 2.2-liter fuel-injected four-cylinder mated to an improved 5-speed manual or optional 3-speed automatic. This year, the only engine option is the uprated turbocharged version of the same motor. It provides 47% more horsepower than the standard engine's 99, for a total of 146, with 168 pounds of torque. That's more than adequate for the 2,600-pound base weight. For proof, the Turbo LeBaron GTS Lancer will go from 0 to 60 in under 9 seconds. Since this is meant to be Chrysler's answer to a European touring car, it's no surprise that even the standard suspension has more stiffness and handling than your typical American family model. With struts up front and a high coil spring rate solid axle rear, initial impressions of the H-Car's roadability are pretty good. The optional handling package adds Eagle GT rubber, higher pressure gas struts and shocks, and firmer springs. The main differences between the Chrysler and Dodge versions are in trim and details. The Chrysler LeBaron GTS carries a more formal grille, and inside things are properly demure. The standard cloth and vinyl upholstery is bolstered by an optional sports seat with adjustable support. All LeBaron GTS Lancers come with full instrumentation. You get a very legible analog gauge package on the base car and a good electronic unit on top-line editions. All models include this clever in-dash cup holder, a device that's fast becoming a Chrysler trademark. The Lancer incorporates Dodge's bullseye grille into the overall shape, and the large hatch follows the modern theme. It flows down and out to resemble a more traditional trunk. These twins are very practical in other ways, too. There is a standard package shelf. The trunk expands by folding the rear seat, and it all comes complete with a security lock. Practical and sporty. That's what Chrysler intended here for those buyers who need the practicality of a sedan or hatchback, but yearn for the thrill of driving a more sporty machine. From first looks and first drives, it appears that they've managed to match the Chrysler LeBaron GTS and Dodge Lancer to their market targets, and time will surely tell. Bringing out dramatic new products is almost becoming a habit for Chrysler. Not only that, but some of the products introduced only a few years ago are getting significant additions and alterations for 1985. Take the hot-selling front-drive Plymouth Voyager and Dodge Caravan minivans. New convenience extras for 85 make these useful creatures even more so. The most novel is a convert-a-bed option. It quickly transforms the middle bench into a quite sizable bed for two well-acquainted adults. While some bulky cargo may have to wait outside till dawn, essentials will still fit underneath. The bed can't be ordered with the rear bench seat, so if that's gone, you can get a new front bench seat to replace the standard buckets. New overhead and floor consoles are also available for more small item storage. The almost as popular G-body sporty hatchbacks, the Dodge Daytona and Chrysler Laser, also get some minor tweaking. The top-performing Daytona Z gets a fresh black finish to go with last year's racier red and silver. And a slightly more powerful turbocharged 4-cylinder and smoother shifting 5-speed give it even more zip. You can also get the Z's 3-piece spoiler and all other Daytona variants. A Shelby suspension package for the Daytona is due around mid-year. Chrysler's more traditional front-wheel drive K cars, the Plymouth Reliant and Dodge Aries, get their first reskinning since they started improving Chrysler's fortunes 5 years ago. New body panels for 1985 give almost every old K car crease a new curve on life. From the deeply tunneled headlights in the front to the wraparound taillights in the rear, the Aries Reliants aren't quite the austere people boxes they used to be. The insides have also been totally revamped. For instance, there's this clever pivoting lamp. It doubles as illumination for the passenger's sun visor mirror and as a map light. Besides this two-door, body styles will again include a compact four-door sedan and a versatile four-door wagon. Other K-car alterations are more modest. In the LeBaron lineup, the major item is the wide availability of the 2.2-liter turbo motor. Over at Dodge, that means a Turbo ES version of their popular 600 convertible. The top-line package includes the usual creature features, plus performance suspension with fatter tires. The larger Dodge 600 ES, their Euro-type four-door sedan, got the pink slip for 1985. But the basic mid-size 600 four-door is still around, along with a name change for its counterpart in the Chrysler Plymouth division. Last year's Chrysler E-Class now becomes the Plymouth Caravelle. Canadian buyers have known the Caravelle name for years, but this is the first time it's been used in the U.S. So now Plymouth comes back to being a full-line, popularly priced nameplate once again. But if you like your front-wheel drive on the plush side, Chrysler will still sell you their opulent New Yorker. And not to be left out in the pull-me car category are the venerable L-body hatchbacks, the Plymouth Horizon and Dodge Omni Twins. As part of their growing performance image, Dodge is offering a couple of additions to their rabbit-hunting Omni GLH. This little beastie will get the 2.2 turbo as an 85 option, along with race car-like side curtains. The GLH is a performer all right, and for an American econo box, that's almost unheard of. On the sleeker side, the Dodge Charger continues with its top-line Shelby package. It also has a turbo motor option, plus a new distinctive hood bulge. The more pedestrian Charger and Plymouth Turismo continue to offer sporty hatchback styling in an economical package. Only the small Dodge Rampage pickup didn't make the final cut. Rounding out, or should we say stretching out, Chrysler's front-drive lineup is the Chrysler Limousine. It also gets the 2.2-liter turbo. The slightly shorter executive sedan is gone. On the rear-drive family car scene, a single four-door body style continues as the Plymouth Grand Fury and Dodge Diplomat. With its police cruiser shape, it's the only Chrysler car chassis that still offers V8 power. Those 8 cylinders, plus a lot of extra trim, have made this top-line Chrysler Fifth Avenue version one of the most popular values on the luxury car market today. As for Dodge trucks, the four-wheel drive Ram Charger lineup gets a new shift-on-the-move option. And a 5-year or 50,000-mile corrosion warranty is offered on their imported Ram 50 pickups. These are both first for their class. As for the rest of the imports, there are some pretty dramatic changes in Chrysler's Mitsubishi connection. We'll be seeing all new Dodge and Plymouth Colt hatchbacks. They're also introducing a new subcompact sedan called the Colt Premier. Like the hatchbacks, this attractive wedge-shaped four-door is built on a 93.7-inch wheelbase. That provides badly needed rear footroom. Colt power has been upped 6% with a new standard 1.5-liter four-cylinder. And naturally, the fire-breathing 102-horse turbo is still available, although this go-around with a lot more handling to really make the Colt a controllable thriller to drive. Changes on other Mitsubishi products are mostly limited to trim and electronics. That means the very popular but hard to find Colt Vista 7-passenger wagon and the Conquest Sport Coupe, though it now has a water-cooled turbo. The Conquest also has a super stereo with fingertip controls located on the steering wheel, providing spirited sound to go along with its spirited performance. And spirited is a good way to describe all of Chrysler's amazingly varied product lines for 1985. They're quickly making Chrysler one of the most innovative car marketers in the world today. Before we move on to Ford, let's take a break from all the shiny sheet metal with a look under the hood with MotorWeek's own master mechanic, Pat Goss. Pat?
Well, John, a lot of the new cars that we're seeing these days are equipped like this one. They have a turbocharger on them. Turbocharging is the in thing to really increase the performance and drivability of a car. It makes it a lot of fun. We can see the turbo on this one quite easily. It sits right up here. Now, not all cars are quite this visible, but they all look pretty much the same as far as the shape and so on is concerned. Now, in order to keep that turbo running properly for a long period of time, what can you do? Well, the most important thing is right here. We're just finishing an oil change on this car, but before we actually get into some of the pitfalls of oil changes and so on, you have to know a little bit about what a turbocharger does. Well, we have a cutaway right here. Now, the turbocharger is really very simple. We have two chambers on it. The one on this side is connected into the exhaust system of the car. And as the engine runs, exhaust passes into this chamber and makes these vanes turn like this. Turn very, very rapidly. Many, many thousands of revolutions per minute. Okay, now, what does that do? Well, going all the way through the turbo to the other end is a shaft that connects to a second vane. All right, this vane is being turned by the one from the exhaust. Now, the second part of the turbo is connected into the air intake system of the car, into the carburetor or fuel injection or intake manifold. And the rapid turning of this vane forces the air into the intake system under pressure, and this increases the performance of the car. Very simple. Really works, too. Okay, but what are the pitfalls of this? Well, right in the center of this one, this is a typical configuration, right here and here, we have two bearings. Now, in some cases, they might be mounted outboard, but either way, they serve the same purpose. Now, these bearings, because they're operating around this shaft at just tremendous speeds and tremendous temperatures from the exhaust system, these bearings must have a constant supply of fresh, clean oil. Now, how do we make sure that they get this constant supply? Well, we change the oil regularly. You never let it go any longer than what the owner's manual recommends. But if you really want to be safe, the best thing to do is to step up that maintenance a little bit. Change the oil in the oil filter in the car at least every 3 months or 3,000 miles. And in many cases, that will double the life expectancy of the turbo. But there's also a couple of things you have to be aware of in the actual changing of the oil. You can't just drain the oil out and put fresh oil in, restart the car, and go. That could be disastrous because in many cases the oil has drained out of the turbocharger, and when you start it, there's a momentary lag before the oil gets to the turbocharger. The turbo starts spinning very rapidly and it damages the bearings in it. So how do you prevent that? Well, the first thing is that you need a test lead such as we have here. Just a piece of wire with two alligator clips, one on each end. Then what do you do with it? Well, on most cars, you'll pull the coil wire out of the distributor cap. This is the wire that runs from the coil to the center of the distributor cap itself. With that removed, you will clip one of the alligator clips to the end of the coil wire, the other end to the negative battery cable like that. Now, the car can't start. So what you do at this point is you crank the engine until such time as the oil light goes out, if it has a light, or if it has a gauge, when the gauge reads a pressure. Now, I have an assistant in the car to help me with this. Lane, if you would, crank it, please. Okay. Now, we have pressure in the system. This has forced the oil into the turbocharger, and now when the engine is started, there'll be no problem with the turbo. Now, on some cars, the ignition system will be a little bit different than this, and you might have to refer to a service manual to get the proper procedure for it. But anyway, this does do the job. One other thing, if you happen to have a car that has an oil filter that mounts straight up on the bottom of it, you can take the new oil filter and fill it right up to the top with fresh oil and then put it on the car. That way the engine doesn't have to pump the oil filter full of oil and then on through the system. Last but not least, for some General Motors cars, there is an oil filter made like this. This filter has built into it a check valve that bypasses the filling of the filter until such time as there is sufficient pressure in the system. This makes the oil get to the turbo much more rapidly and really helps this whole process along. Now, if you follow these simple rules, you can certainly get a lot more miles and a lot more boost to your driving with your turbocharged car.
Thanks, Pat. And that just gave us enough time to zip from the rolling Chelsea countryside over to the flatter fields of Dearborn, Michigan. This is the hometown proving grounds of the Ford Motor Company. But these days, Ford is a huge international firm, so a lot of their newest products are actually developed for overseas buyers first. Then they could be sent here for final tailoring to the American market, just like Ford's most dramatic entrant for 1985. It's a European beauty with a heart that's pure red, white, and blue. It's pronounced Merkur. That's German for Mercury. Naturally, Germany is the birthplace of this dazzling sport liftback from Ford. With the Merkur XR4Ti, Ford is again trying to put some Autobahn grace and style into their Lincoln Mercury showrooms. And this is style with a difference. Nothing else on our roads looks even remotely like the XR4Ti, though the profile is well known in Europe as the Ford Sierra XR4i. The U.S. version is assembled by the famous German specialty builder Karmann. And with a shape coming from Ford's Probe 3 aerodynamic study, the XR4Ti indeed seems honed for the win. From the sculptured Mark 7-like headlights on the front to the controversial biplane spoiler at the rear, it's designed to cheat the breeze at speed. Its rounded shape makes it look smaller than its 102.7-inch wheelbase or 178.4-inch overall length would indicate. That's a bit shorter than Chrysler's H-Car, but a notch longer than a BMW 300 series. The T in the XR4Ti stands for, what else? Turbocharging. And that star-spangled heart I mentioned is a familiar power plant. Ford's U.S. design 2.3-liter turbocharged four-cylinder. That old Pinto block now also powers high-performance Mustangs, Capris, Thunderbirds, and Cougars as well. But as if they're trying to prove just how international they really are, Ford sent the engine plan south. It's made in Brazil. Oh well, at least we're told Garrett still makes the turbocharger here. And the turbocharger adopts one of Chrysler's better ideas, using water-cooled bearings for longer life. But the XR4, as Ford hopes the Merkur will be called, isn't a big car, and it is rear drive. That makes its roomy interior even more impressive. With a $16,000 base price, almost every option, including air conditioning, will be standard. You get your driver information on the canted dash from clear, tightly grouped dials that can be swiftly scanned. Just right for this deceptively fast, well-balanced machine. After all, it was designed for touring on German roads, where the speed limit is usually only as high as your nerves will allow. Handling is precise and forgiving. Enter a corner a bit too fast and there is plenty of power to gently bring the back wheels into the desired trajectory. The car rapidly telegraphs every move of its Pirelli P6 tires and full independent suspension, and its rack and pinion steering is quick enough. Engine output is more than ample. 170 horses for the standard 5-speed manual or 140 for the automatic. 0 to 60 is in the 8-second range. Overall, it's an impressive package, and Ford hopes for 20,000 sophisticated buyers during the 1985 model year. And what they'll get is an enchanting car to drive, and one that looks like no other car on the American road today. The Merkur XR4Ti is just the latest product from Ford's Eurothink bosses, and it complements an already impressive line of U.S. designed cars that are getting even more polish and performance for 1985. Leading the list is Ford's other dramatically shaped star turn, the Ford Thunderbird. But except for revised taillights and a new T-Bird emblem and grille, almost all changes for the 85 Birds are inside or under the hood. Most of them come together on the Thunderbird Turbo Coupe and its notchback kin, the Mercury Cougar XR7. The 2.3-liter Turbo 4 now includes a fully electronic wastegate that allows up to 15 pounds of boost. That means new ratios for the standard 5-speed, with shorter throws for smoother operation. Ford's European influence strikes again with this striking new dash. You can actually get a solid, visible, efficient set of needles and dials on all 1985 Thunderbirds and Cougars. Handling on the top-line Cats and Canaries also got some attention. The result is higher effort power steering and performance tires on unique 15-inch aluminum wheels. You see lots of performance and cosmetic changes in Ford's other rear-drive lineups too. The Mustang gets a bit of plastic surgery with a new single-slotted grille, giving all Mustangs some of the flavor of the exotic Mustang SVO. While turbo power can be ordered, it's the 5-liter 4-barrel high-output V8 Mustang GT that seems to excite pony car groupies. Horsepower is up again for 1985 to 210, thanks to a revised camshaft and larger diameter exhaust. The Mustang SVO doesn't get any big visual changes till next spring, when body-fitting headlights are finally scheduled to show up. There's still more sedate versions of the Tang. The Sharp Mustang convertible graduates into its 3rd year of production, and Mercury Capris copy all the Mustang's powertrain additions without any notable change in exterior styling. Now you may think that ends Ford's rear-drive performance contributions, but there's more. If you want to own Ford's version of a smoky mobile, try this police special, the Ford LTD LX sedan. Designed for the family car buyer who wants a full-size, unboring set of wheels, the LTD LX comes with a fuel-injected, high-output 5-liter V8, handling suspension, fast steering and performance tires, all as standard. You can tell it from a normal LTD sedan by its body-colored grille, colorful accents, twin chrome exhaust, and styled road wheels. Inside, there's a functional center console, floor shift, and articulated bucket seats. Gauges, though, aren't complete, but there's a sweeping tack to keep you honest. It's quite a trip. Other LTD models, including the wagon and similar Mercury Marquis, get along through 1985 with mostly minor trim and convenience option changes. In Ford's expanding front-wheel drive stable, the Tempo and Mercury Topaz enter 1985 with, again, little new outside except for a bit wider body side moldings. But you can order a high-output version of the Carline single 2.3-liter pushrod 4-cylinder. It's called the 2300 HSC for high-swirl combustion chamber and delivers 20% more horsepower and 15% more torque, and is part of each division's new optional sport package. Even the standard Tempo Topaz engine adds throttle body fuel injection this model year. The tried-and-true Ford Escort and Mercury Lynx are due for a major reskinning next spring, probably as early '86 models. The new GT is also expected to sport another version of the Mark 7-like body-blending headlights. So it, along with the wide-eyed EXP, enter 1985, with the most notable change being the relocation of reverse to the lower right on the 5-speed manual shift linkage. Fresh on the heels of the dramatic Mark 7 debut last year, Ford's biggest Luxo boat, the Lincoln Town Car, gets new flush-mounted bumpers front and rear, with wall-to-wall taillights adding to the revamped theme. The Mark 7 and Continental 4-door get the first 4-wheel anti-skid brake system available on a U.S.-made car. It controls premature brake lockup and should reduce high-speed panic stop distances by 5 to 10% and give more secure control on wet and icy surfaces. A limited number of Mark 7s are dubbed the Comtech, and they'll be available late in the model year. They'll come with such electronic goodies as radio controls on the steering wheel and a touch-sensitive computer screen with displays for climate control, trip and fuel monitor, service reminder, calendar, and a lot more. Now over at Ford Truck, the long-awaited Aerostar minivan is keeping under wraps until next April. A rear-drive model with the aerodynamic nose of an anteater, it'll be powered by a variety of 4- and 6-cylinder power plants. Stretching out for almost 9 months, the introduction of Ford Motor Company's all-new, restyle, or just retweaked lineup for 1985, following the philosophy of always having something new to shout about. Next week, we're on the move again to the giant test facilities of the industry giant, General Motors. And after that, we'll be at the head office of much smaller but just as determined American Motors Corporation. That's on part 2 of our 1985 Detroit New Car Preview, right here on MotorWeek.